Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Museum Munchkins. I'm Mr. Nick, and today we are talking all about frogs. And we're going to start off by singing a song about frogs. If you want to stand up on your feet. This song is called 5 Green and Speckled Frogs. And so in this song, we are going to start off with 5 frogs. Can I have you hold up a number 5 on your hands? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. And we're going to go all the way down to 0 speckled frogs. All right, so here we go. So while we sing our song, we're going to try to remember how many speckled frogs are left. And then we can also hop around and do some frog jumping too while we sing this song. Here we go. 5 green and speckled frogs sitting on a speckled log, eating the most delicious bugs. Yum, yum! One jumped into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there are 4 speckled frogs. Glub, glub. All right, so there's 4 speckled frogs left. 4 green and speckled frogs sitting on a speckled log, eating the most delicious bugs. Yum, yum! One jumped into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there are 3 speckled frogs. Glub, glub. 3 green and speckled frogs sitting on a speckled log, eating the most delicious bugs. Yum, yum! One jumped into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there are 2 speckled frogs. Glub, glub. 2 green and speckled frogs sitting on a speckled log, eating the most delicious bugs. Yum, yum! One jumped into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there is 1 speckled frog. Glub, glub. 1 green and speckled frog sitting on a speckled log, eating the most delicious bugs. Yum, yum! One jumped into the pool where it was nice and cool. Now there are no speckled frogs. No glub glub. All right, thank you so much for singing that song with me. I'm going to set my guitar down so that we can talk and learn all about frogs. Have you ever seen a frog before? Oh, maybe you've been out to like a swampy area where you've caught some frogs. I used to like to do that when I was a kid, was go out and try to catch frogs around ponds and things. And to be totally honest, I still kind of like to do that. That's pretty fun. It's pretty fun to see what sorts of frogs live in our area. Now, frogs are a type of amphibian that are found all over the world. We find them in most places where it's warm enough for them to survive. So they can't survive really far north where it's really cold all the time, or way down south like in Antarctica, but most places we do find frogs. And when I say that they're a type of amphibian, actually 88% of all the amphibians that we know about are actually frogs. So there's a ton of different types of frogs, about 7,300 different types of frogs. Now, with so many different types of frogs out there, let's talk about some of the things that a lot of them have in common with each other. So frogs do not have a tail like other animals, except for when they're tadpoles. They have webbed toes, they have big eyes, and they have smooth or sometimes warty skin. Now, the smallest frog in the world is very, very small, only about half the size of a dime. While the biggest frog, the Goliath frog, can grow to be up to 13 inches long and weigh 7 pounds. That is a big frog, probably where it gets its name, the Goliath frog, because it's so big. Now, most frogs use their long legs with strong muscles in them for moving quickly throughout their environments. Whether it's swimming, can you swim like a frog? We're going to swim like this with our arms. Or jumping, can you jump around like a frog? Very good. Or climbing, can we pretend we're climbing a tree like a frog? Or burrowing, can we burrow down deep in the mud like a frog? Very good. And many frogs actually have webbed feet that help them to push their bodies through the water while they're swimming. So the webbing is kind of skin that's in between each of their toes. Ducks have webbed feet too. Lots of animals have webbed feet that help to push them through the water while they swim. Then other frogs have special sticky pads on the ends of their toes that help them to grab onto surfaces and climb like tree frogs. And now, when you think of a frog's skin, you might imagine something that's really smooth and kind of slimy on the outside, and there's a reason for that. A frog's skin is not only used to help protect their body from their environment, but it's also how they get water instead of drinking it with their mouth, and how they breathe. So a frog can actually absorb water through their skin while they're in the water, and they can absorb oxygen from the water through their skin too. Now they do breathe with their nose and their lungs when they're out on land, but they can use their wet, slimy skin to breathe in the water too. Now their skin is also usually colored in such a way that it either does one of two things. Either it helps them to camouflage and blend in with their surroundings, or their skin is very brightly colored, and that helps them to tell predators and other animals in their environments like, hey, you should leave me alone because I am dangerous. Now, with their skin being so important, they need to make sure that they keep their skin in tip-top shape, and so they shed their skin about every few weeks. So every few weeks, their whole skin over their body is changed. They shed their old skin off of their body, and then they have new, fresh skin underneath it. Now, the life of a frog, the life cycle of a frog, is also very interesting. And like other amphibians, it usually starts in the water or near the water. So frogs lay their eggs, if not in the water, near the water, or sometimes hanging on a leaf over the water in a big blob of foam. And when the eggs hatch, we call them tadpoles. But a tadpole looks very, very different from a frog. They're kind of just a head with two eyes, a mouth, and a tail. And they also have gills, like a fish, that help them to breathe underwater. So a tadpole couldn't come out of the water and breathe on land like an adult frog could. But once the tadpole gets big enough, then they go through something special called metamorphosis. Can you say that word with me? Metamorphosis. So their body changes when they get older, when they turn into adults. And lots of animals do this. Lots of insects go through a metamorphosis. Just like a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, a tadpole turns into an adult frog. So during their metamorphosis, a tadpole will grow legs, usually their back legs first, and then their front legs. And their tail and gills will disappear. Their jaw gets wider and bigger, and their eyes actually slide up to the top of their heads. And they develop ears on the sides of their body, and their skin gets thicker and tougher. It's really interesting being a frog, and I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to be a frog. But actually, today's story is about just that, about a little frog who doesn't really want to be a frog. So let's go check that out. Today's story is I Don't Want to Be a Frog, written by Dev Petty and illustrated by Mike Bolt. I want to be a cat. You can't be a cat. Why not? Because you're a frog. I don't like being a frog. It's too wet. Well, you can't be a cat. I want to be a rabbit. You can't be a rabbit. Why not? Look, I can hop. Sure, but where are your long ears? Besides, what's wrong with being a frog? I don't like being a frog. It's too slimy. That may be, but you can't be a rabbit. I want to be a pig. You can't be a pig. Why not? Most of all because you're a frog, but also because you don't have a curly tail or eat garbage. I can eat garbage. Everyone says that until they eat garbage. Sorry, you can't be a pig. I want to be an owl. Of course you want to be an owl. Being an owl is the greatest thing ever. Boy, would you love being an owl. So can I be an owl then? No, of course not. Why not? Number one, you don't have wings. Number two, you don't look wise. Number three, you can't turn your head all the way around. Number four, you are a frog. What's wrong with being a frog anyway? Too much bug eating. I see. But still, no being an owl for you. Why so glum? I don't want to be a frog. What do you want to be then? Not a frog. I want to be a cat or a rabbit or a pig or an owl, something cute and warm. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I love eating cats. I love eating rabbits and pigs and owls too. And I am pretty hungry. I might just gobble some up right now. That's terrible. It's who I am. But guess the one thing I never eat. Badgers? No, I eat badgers. Lots of badgers. Frogs? Bingo. Why don't you eat frogs? Because they are too wet and slimy and full of bugs. Oh, so it's good to be a frog? Yep. I guess you can't fight nature. We are what we are. You are a fierce hunter. And you are a wet, slimy, bug-eating, very lucky frog. You should just be happy you're not a fly. What's wrong with being a fly? The end. All right, for today's frog craft, we're going to need just a few supplies. We're going to need a big piece of green construction paper, a paper plate, and then I've got 2 small squares of green paper, 2 small yellow squares, and 1 long, thin pink piece of construction paper. I've also got some scissors, and a glue stick, and a stapler, and something to draw with, a marker. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take some, we need some green paint and a paintbrush too. So I've got my paper plate here, and I've already painted this one side here green. So that's going to be our frog's body. So I'm going to do that first so that it has time to dry while we work on the other parts of our activity. So let's paint our plate green and then set that off to the side. Now the next thing we're going to do is take our green paper, our big sheet, and fold it in half. And then I'm going to, this is the tricky part, and you might need somebody's help with this part, but I'm going to take the marker and I'm going to trace my hand onto the green paper here. So let's carefully go around my fingers. And those are actually going to be my frog feet. So make sure I go around all my fingers and have some frog toes there. Perfect, there we go. All right, so I drew around my hand like this. I traced my hand out, and now I'm going to cut it out. So then when I cut it out and it's folded in half, I'll have two handprints that I can use for frog feet. Cut around each one of these fingers here, my scissors, and when I get to the end, and I'm cutting out where my wrist would be on the paper, I can just cut it straight across, because I'm actually going to use my stapler and hold my handprints to the paper plate like that. So we're actually not going to see that part, so it doesn't really matter what the end of it looks like. All right, so I've got my two froggy feet now. And yeah, I'm going to take my stapler and I'm going to stick my hands onto the paper plate. So I think I'm going to do them, I want them kind of pointing forward like a frog's feet would be. So when I find a good place, or right where I want them, I'm going to use my stapler and put one staple on both sides there to hold it on. There's one. And then I'm going to do my other one too, on the same, sort of about the same space on the other side of my frog's body. One and two. There we go. And if you don't have a stapler, you could do that with glue too. But now I've got, oh look, it looks like a frog with some really big feet. Or maybe it looks a little bit like a green moose right now. But we're going to fix that. And next I'm going to take my green paper, my little green squares, and I'm going to sort of cut a letter U out of them. Just like this. See how that kind of looks like a letter U, except for I didn't cut out the middle. I'm going to do the same thing with this one here. I want to make these kind of big. Use almost the whole piece of paper. Okay, so I've now got two of those. And then I'm going to take my yellow paper and I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it a little bit smaller. Not quite as big. One and another small U. It's almost like a capital U and a lowercase u. There we go. And now I'm going to glue one yellow piece onto one green piece, just like this. There we go. So it almost looks like a little window. Let's glue those together. And then those are going to be my frog eyeballs. So I've got two of those now. Very good. There we go. Let's make sure I put my cap back on my glue stick. And now let's draw the pupils, the black part of their eyes. There we go. I've got two frog eyes. And now I'm going to bend the bottom of these eyeballs up so that I can stick them. I can use my glue stick to hold those to the top of my paper plate. So we'll put one, because remember how we talked about the frog's eyes are kind of on the top of their head? after they go through their metamorphosis. So one eye there, and one eye there. I'll press it down. And again, remember to put my cap on my glue stick. And now I'm going to actually take my marker and I'm going to roll this pink paper around my marker to make a big frog, curly frog tongue. So let's curl that around there. I'm going to curl it really tight to make sure it stays curly. And then when I pull my marker out, oh, there we go, I've got my curly frog tongue. And I can use my glue stick or my stapler to stick that underneath my frog there. I'm just using my stapler because it's right here. There we go. So now I've got my frog with a long curly tongue that I used my hands to make some froggy feet with. Well, I hope you had so much fun today learning all about frogs, and we will see you next time.